Yes, I mean, there's more of a challenge there. It's more interesting to me, and maybe to a lot of women, I don't know, because American men are kind of too easy to mold.
Minutes ago, journalists found out something shocking about Linda Kozlowski's dangerous experience while filming Crocodile Dundee. In a scene that looked like regular acting, she was actually risking her life, a scary fact that nobody watching the movie could tell. Linda was just starting out, but her role as Sue Charlton made her a star. Tune in as we explore how one movie scene made it hard to tell what's pretend and what's real, leaving us all hanging, eager to find out. Linda Kozlowski's Unseen Trials. 14 years after Paul Hogan thought he was done with his famous role, a new idea for Crocodile Dundee came up out of nowhere. This idea actually started while they were filming the first movie during a tense scene with Linda Kozlowski. The scene, which looked very real on screen, was actually much more dangerous than it seemed. It blurred the line between acting and real risk, and it made a strong impression on her. Without Linda knowing, the dangers she faced were part of a deeper, darker secret from her past, a secret that could change everything. Kozlowski's entry into acting happened almost by chance. By the mid-1980s, she was one of many aspiring actors, struggling to find success in a tough and unpredictable industry. There was a lot of financial pressure, and roles were hard to come by for someone who wasn't well known. When she auditioned for a small Australian movie, the odds didn't seem in her favor. At that time, Paul Hogan, who was leading the project, wasn't a big name in Hollywood. What made the film so successful was her role as Sue Charlton, a smart and determined New York journalist who travels to the Australian outback looking for a story. She didn't just play the typical damsel in distress. Her performance brought out Sue's intelligence, humor, and strength, making her more relatable and adding depth to the character. This helped the film charm audiences, as Sue became a strong and capable character in the middle of the wild Australian landscape. The outback wasn't just a scenic background. It played a key role in the film, and she had to deal with this harsh environment while staying in character. Her living quarters during filming were close to a swamp with actual crocodiles, creating a constant sense of risk. She later talked about how curious and bold the wildlife could be, sometimes getting a bit too close for comfort. Even short walks after sunset felt risky, adding to the intensity of the experience. Paul Hogan, who played Mick Dundee and later became her real-life partner, admired how she stayed strong in the face of these challenges. Her determination to take on the dangers without losing focus on her role earned her respect from Hogan and the entire team. To keep the cast safe, they took various precautions, like having a safety officer nearby to help if a situation with wildlife got out of hand. Still, no amount of preparation could completely erase the risks of filming in such a wild place. The tough conditions on set mirrored her journey in the movie. Just like her character, Sue Charlton, she had to adjust to the wilderness. Her performance connected with audiences everywhere, who didn't just see a character on screen, but also recognized a real person who faced and overcame the difficulties of a harsh environment. The chemistry between her and Hogan was clear, leading to a lot of rumors about their off-screen relationship. It turned out to be true, as they eventually confirmed they were together, adding more interest to their story. It wasn't just her career that made her walk away from Hollywood. Her relationship with Hogan played a big role in her choice. Their romance, which started on the set, turned into a marriage that lasted for over 20 years before they divorced in 2014. During that time, she began rethinking her priorities and decided to pursue a life away from acting's demands. Linda Kozlowski wanted a simpler, happier life away from Hollywood's bright lights. Stepping out of the spotlight. For Kozlowski, leaving acting was about wanting a simpler, more satisfying life. The film industry, while exciting, often asks for big personal sacrifices that can be hard to balance with the desire for a more private life. She expressed a wish to try new experiences and focus on things beyond her acting career, which hadn't allowed her much freedom to explore. Her Her decision to leave Hollywood behind was a conscious choice to put her happiness first, which isn't uncommon for actors who feel worn out by the constant demands of the industry. As Kozlowski moved on from acting, she found joy in activities that didn't revolve around her public image. The years after she left gave her time to follow new interests and build a life that suited her evolving goals. While many people might have expected her to keep chasing acting roles, she took a different path, choosing the peace and simplicity of a more ordinary life. Looking back, her story tells us something important about success and fulfillment. Her choice to leave acting shows that true happiness doesn't always match what others expect from you. Transitioning from a life in the spotlight to a quieter one can be tough, but for some, it brings a deep sense of peace. Linda Kozlowski's journey away from Hollywood reflects a search for self-discovery. It highlights that while fame and success can open doors, they don't always bring personal happiness. For her, the lessons learned from acting, the risks she took, and the success she achieved guided her to a place where she could live a life that felt right for her. Her story is a reminder that it takes courage to change your path, even if it means letting go of what the world expects. The connection between Hogan and Kozlowski was one of the most talked about relationships of their time. He was a well-known actor who had been married for almost 30 years and was the father of 5 children. But suddenly, the spotlight wasn't on his acting career. It was on his personal life. The public became fascinated with his relationship with Kozlowski, who was nearly 20 years younger than him. Despite all the gossip and constant attention from the media, their love seemed to only get stronger. In 1990, when he was 51 and Kozlowski was 33, they decided to get married in a big celebration in Sydney, Australia, where he was born. The wedding was a fancy event that caught a lot of attention, but reporters weren't allowed in because there was just too much interest. He described it as a private celebration with around 100 of their closest friends and family. Still, the world couldn't help but be curious about their relationship, and some people even compared them to the biggest Hollywood couples of the time. As a big gesture of his love, he gave Kozlowski a custom-built mansion that cost $2 million as a wedding gift, making it a very luxurious start to their life together. For a while, everything seemed perfect, almost like a storybook romance. Wherever they went, they were in the spotlight, especially in Australia. Every little detail of their lives was watched and talked about, whether it was their glamorous vacations or just their everyday activities. As their romance fades from public view, Kozlowski and Hogan's lives take new turns. The rise and fall of Dundee's stars. In an interview in 2001, she talked about how hard it was to deal with the constant attention, especially because Hogan was still married to his first wife when their relationship started. She chose to stay quiet during that time, letting the media make up their own stories, but this took a toll on her career. Their real-life relationship wasn't the only thing that got attention. After Crocodile Dundee became a huge hit, they both starred in the sequel in 1988. Although the movie didn't do as well as the first one, it still performed well worldwide. Their off-screen romance made the public even more interested in the film. But as time passed, the excitement died down, and the sequel got mixed reviews. Their next movie together was Almost an Angel in 1990, where Hogan played a thief who becomes an angel, and Kozlowski was his co-star. Unfortunately, this movie didn't do well, marking the start of a rough patch in their careers. They tried again with Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles in 2001, but it didn't have much success either. This ended up being Kozlowski's last time on screen, but this wasn't the toughest part. After leaving acting, Kozlowski talked about how being typecast, always being offered the same kind of roles, had frustrated her. She decided to step away from the industry and focus on her family, finding happiness in raising her son, Chance, whom she had with Hogan. Even though she enjoyed her time as a mom, by the early 2010s, it was clear that things in their marriage were not going well. In 2013, after 23 years of marriage, they announced they were separating. Kozlowski, who was 55, filed for divorce from 74-year-old Hogan. Many Hollywood breakups are full of drama, but theirs was different. It was peaceful, and both of them said there were no hard feelings. Kozlowski said they just naturally grew apart, something that happens to a lot of couples over time. Hogan also talked about how they had always been opposites in many ways, yet managed to make it work for a long time. Even when their divorce became official in 2014, there wasn't any anger or bitterness. They showed only respect for each other and looked back on their time together fondly. Their relationship wasn't just about the headlines. It had a big impact on their lives and careers. Their love story seemed almost like it could have been a movie itself, and people were just as invested in their real-life romance as they were in the characters they played on screen. This intense interest turned them into one of the famous couples of the time, and it was sometimes hard for people to separate the actors from the roles they played. While some doubted whether their love could survive under so much attention, others admired their commitment to each other. Dealing with being in the public eye wasn't easy for Kozlowski, especially with all the gossip and stories about how their relationship began. Hogan was still married when they first got together, which added fuel to the fire. Kozlowski kept her thoughts to herself during these times, but the tabloids kept talking about them. This constant attention affected Kozlowski's career because she found it hard to escape the character she played in Crocodile Dundee and the image people had of her from her publicized relationship with Hogan. Life after the movies brings personal and career challenges for Hogan and Kozlowski. Fame's double-edged sword. The challenges in their relationship weren't just personal. They also faced difficulties in their careers together. After the big success of Crocodile Dundee, it was hard for them to find the same kind of success in other movies. The film had made them famous, but it also made it difficult for them to be seen in any other light. Whenever they tried something different, it didn't seem to get the same excitement or attention, and this slowed down their careers. But this wasn't the only issue they faced. Despite the ups and downs, Hogan and Kozlowski tried to live a normal life. They spent a lot of time raising their son and focused on family life away from all the fame. For a while, this seemed to be enough for Kozlowski, who found a lot of joy in being a mom and spending time with her family. Hogan, on the other hand, kept trying to find success in the film world. Even though he wasn't making as many movies as before, he still had a loyal group of fans who loved his humor and charm. Over time, though, it became clear that their differences were causing them to drift apart. She wanted a quieter, more private life, while Hogan was comfortable being in the spotlight. He had been a public figure for decades and was used to the attention. These differences may have played a big role in why they eventually went their separate ways. When they announced their split in 2013, many people weren't too surprised. Their peaceful and mature approach to their divorce showed that, even after so many years, they still had respect for each other. But this wasn't the end of their story. Even after they separated, their shared history stayed with them. Their time together continued to be an important part of how people saw their careers. Fans still remembered the love story that seemed so perfect at the start and watched how both of them went on with their lives. For many, their relationship represented a time when movie stars seemed larger than life, and their real-life romances were almost like the movies they starred in. For Hogan and her, those years together were filled with ups and downs that shaped them as people and left a lasting impact. After their divorce, she mostly stayed out of the public eye, enjoying a quieter life. She occasionally did interviews or made brief appearances, but avoided the spotlight that had once been such a big part of her life. Hogan, on the other hand, kept working in comedy and film, although not as frequently as before. He enjoyed reconnecting with fans who still loved the humor he brought to his roles. In looking back, it's clear that Hogan and Kozlowski's love story was more than just a big Hollywood romance. It was a real relationship that went through many changes, showing the ups and downs that come with being in the public eye and simply being in a long-term relationship. Their story reminds us that even famous couples face the same kinds of challenges as everyone else: time, change, and the search for happiness. For Hogan and her, their relationship might not have lasted forever, but the impact it had certainly did. After their split, Hogan and Kozlowski find new paths and keep their connection alive. A life redefined, Paul Hogan and Linda Kozlowski stayed on good terms even after they got divorced. Linda would often speak kindly about their relationship, saying they still talked on the phone regularly and would sometimes meet up for a coffee. Their connection didn't just end when their marriage did. They stayed in each other's lives. In fact, in the year 2017, Hogan's life story was turned into a TV miniseries in Australia called Hogas. It showed how he went from working on the Sydney Harbour Bridge to becoming a famous movie star. Josh Lawson played him, while Laura Gordon took on her role. The series got mixed reviews. Some people liked the throwback feeling, while others felt it didn't seem entirely real. As his movie career slowed down, with some of his later films like Strange Bedfellows and Charlie and Boots not doing as well, she started focusing on different things in her life. After their divorce, she decided to step away from acting, and instead spent more time traveling. One of her trips took her to Morocco, where she met Moulay Hafid Baba, a local guide. She felt an instant connection with him, almost as if they had known each other for a long time, even though they had just met. Their relationship grew quickly, and before long there were rumors that they had gotten married. Hogan was reportedly a bit surprised to hear about her new relationship, but he said he was happy for her. In 2018, she made a big change. She decided to leave Los Angeles and move to Morocco to start a new chapter in her life. She even sold her house to make it happen. Even though she was far away, she still cared about his well-being. She worried about his health and often reminded him to go to the doctor and take better care of himself, especially since he had smoked for many years. In Morocco, she and Baba started a travel company called Dream My Destiny. It offered high-end, personalized travel experiences for people who wanted something a bit different. She was very passionate about this business because it let her mix her love for style with Baba's local knowledge, creating special trips for travelers who wanted a bit of luxury. But that wasn't all she had planned. She also wanted to start a clothing line inspired by Moroccan fashion and dreamed about living on an olive farm and even running a donkey sanctuary near Marrakesh. Her new life allowed her to be adventurous, something she had always wanted but didn't really get to do when she was acting. But this wasn't the only big change. She felt a real sense of freedom living in Morocco, something she hadn't felt while working in Hollywood. With the money she got from her divorce settlement, she was financially stable, which let her make smart investments. She bought beachfront properties in Venice, California, which helped her grow her wealth even more. Her journey from a Hollywood actress to an entrepreneur living in Morocco marked a big change in her life. Instead of chasing fame, she found happiness in living a life that was fulfilling and full of new experiences. Away from the cameras, she discovered what truly made her happy and embraced the opportunity to start fresh. What do you think is more fulfilling, fame or personal freedom? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing stories.